The WHO's report is shedding light on how widespread diabetes has become around the world. With more on the possible reasons, earlier I spoke to Sheri Colberg. She's a professor at Old Dominion University, and she specializes in diabetes and exercise research. She's also the author of this book, The Diabetic Athlete's Handbook. It's a guide to athletes with type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Some of the more potent and contributing causes are eating the wrong foods, eating too much of the wrong foods, being far less active than we used to be, and also contributing factors include pollutants that are actually interfering with metabolism and making diabetes more prevalent.
When we think about diabetes, we usually want to blame sugar. Is that still the case?
Sugar is just part of the story. If you didn't eat too much sugar, like in total calories, it probably would not cause diabetes. It does contribute, though, when we eat too many calories, too many carbohydrates, and the body just cannot process all of those. So that does contribute to fat weight gain, which also is one of the contributing factors for diabetes.
The World Health Organization released this report. Is there a specific area of the world that is more guilty?
I think all areas of the world are actually at risk now, and it appears in the developing countries the rates of type 2 diabetes are actually exceeding the rates in the more industrialized countries. And there are many reasons for that, but as countries become more industrialized, they actually go towards a more westernized lifestyle, which involves easier access to food and far less physical activity, maybe exposure to more pollutants by living in city environments instead of the country.
So when we think of bad food, bad eating, I normally think of fast food type of food or soda. Is that the case?
Actually, the types of foods that are probably contributing most to weight gain are the highly refined, highly processed carbohydrates and possibly the fats that are also highly refined. So for example, white sugar, white flour, things made with white potatoes, white rice, things that actually have a lot of the nutrients stripped out. Those nutrients are really critical for metabolism to work right.
How is this when it seems like we live in an age where all we hear about is juicing your food or kale as an alternative to Bib lettuce and yoga and just living a cleaner life?
There's nothing wrong with living a cleaner life. It's just that I don't think the majority of us are actually doing that. That may be a small subgroup of people who are really fitness fanatical. And the problem is that even if we're doing those things, we still need to be more physically active. That's really critical because we store carbohydrates in muscle. If we're not using our muscles, we have nowhere to put those carbohydrates, and they get turned into excess fat.
What kind of drastic action needs to take place, Sheri?
I think it's going to actually have to take place at a much higher level than at the individual level. There are going to need to be changes in the built environment, meaning that we need to have more walkable areas where people can actually be physically active on a daily basis. We need to have access to better food. We need to have the produce and healthier foods be less expensive than buying a donut. So it's going to almost take an intervention at a governmental level.